Hi everyone, this is Robert Harrison, Training Director here at NLP Institute of California. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about my top 5 reasons for why I think you should consider taking the Master Practitioner Training with us, particularly this format that's going to be coming up where it's live and online as well. So you'll be learning from myself, from Tim Halbum, and from Nick LaForce over 15 online modules. Each one will have a live component where we're teaching live on a Tuesday and then we're practicing it on a Thursday, along with all of the materials that are already packaged into each module, so that at the end of the training you have an on-demand advanced NLP library. This will be somewhat similar to the online library we've built out for the NLP practitioner certification. So one of our goals as an institute is to have a full suite of NLP materials and learnings available to you online in an easy to use format so you can really get into your bones. So that's not one of my top 5, but that's definitely a very good reason for getting in on the training now, particularly if you've already graduated as a master practitioner with us in the past, because then you get that special student discount for having already gone through the course. And that's something we're only doing for the first round of this. So if you're seeing this and it's still 2021, chances are you're just in time. Okay, so let's talk about my top 5 reasons for why to take the Master Practitioner Certification Training with NLP Institute of California. Number 1, it's practicing the fundamentals. Now, what do I mean by that? Bruce Lee said, I'm not afraid of the 1,000 punches, right, that you've practiced one time. He goes, I am concerned about the one punch you've practiced 1,000 times. Okay, so in NLP, one of the ways to get really good at it really fast is to practice the fundamentals. And all of the curriculum and material taught in the Master Practitioner Certification, it is advanced level NLP material, but all of that advanced level NLP material is built upon the basic fundamentals and building blocks of NLP that you would learn in your NLP practitioner training. This is an opportunity, though, for you to practice it and really get it into your bones at a deeper level, because all of the advanced processes are different combinations of the techniques you've learned before. So it might be meta model, it might be well-formed outcome, it might be ecology checking, it might be a guided search, sometimes known as a transderivational search, it might be modeling, it might go in other position. It could be a number of different techniques that you've already learned, and they're all put together in different combinations to achieve these higher level changes and interventions that we want, particularly interventions at the level of beliefs, values, and identity. Okay? So fundamentals is the number 1 reason. Practice the fundamentals. Chop wood, carry water, get it into your bones. The more you practice, the better you get. The more you practice, like with music, we practice scales, we practice arpeggios, we practice different maneuvers that allow us to fully express ourselves musically when we sit down with the instrument. So if you think about NLP as an instrument and your ability to fully express yourself in terms of your ability to help someone else heal through a problem, overcome a challenge, plan a goal that makes sense, that's in line with what they value most, etc., it's going to be using these fundamentals and these building blocks. So can't stress it enough. Always, 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 the more practice, the better. Our top students, what they end up doing is they go through the training, then they come back and work as a resource person to do the training again, and then they often will come back again even after that and do a resource training for a second or a third year. And that's once you've gone through the practitioner and master practitioner, you can then apply to be a resource team member where you would come in and coach and help out in the next training. It allows you to come to the training free of charge, but it also, more importantly, helps you to drill in those fundamentals and basics even more at a deeper level. To do that, you got to go through the master track first and be certified in both. Okay? All right, so enough about that. Now, my second reason is this. It's the community. The NLP community is genuinely, authentically, unlike any other community that I have ever known. And here's what I mean by that. It is a unique group of eclectic people that all have this personal development thread important to them in their lives. People that are into NLP are into personal development. They believe that more is possible than what we're currently getting in our reality. And they are actively working to grow and evolve and develop. And that puts you in, if you're one of these people, which if you're watching this video you are, that puts us in a unique category. So that alone, the community of people who really believe in personal evolution, that's the group that you want to be a part of, particularly if you want to evolve, because it will push you to do that. The other reason why the NLP community is so important and so strong is that it's an eclectic group of people. There are, stay-at-home moms. There are college students. There are, professors and psychiatrists who've been in the field for 20, 30, 40 years. There are top salesmen at companies like Oracle and NEC come to these trainings. One of the former founders of PayPal was in my first NLP practitioner training back in the 90s, before PayPal was even a company, before it even came into fruition. I remember they were working on it. So the kind of people that come through NLP training from all around the world, particularly now with this online format, all around the world. Our last class we had clients from India, we had clients from Switzerland, we had clients, I believe, from Australia, we had clients in Amsterdam, we had clients all over the world. So you get a chance to connect and meet and network with a group of people that you probably wouldn't find anywhere else, from different walks of life. But because we speak the same language of personal growth, the same language of personal development, and of course the language and the understanding and knowledge of neuro-linguistic programming, you make friends for life. I'm still friends with some of the people in my original training. I just talked yesterday with my friend Kimmy Avery, who was a resource person in my very first training back in, I think, like 1996 or 7. Can't remember off the top of my head right now, but a long time ago. And we're still friends. We're still connected, and we still do things together as well. Hang out, work on projects, etc. Share thoughts about the mind and personal evolution. So the community is unlike anything else in the world, and I encourage you to plug into that. The next reason is time. Okay, so the three major categories that we cover in the Master Practitioner training, while drilling in the fundamentals, while making sure you understand the basics, of course, is we address areas and issues of time. One of the things that Count Alfred Korzybski said, and I've got the book right here. This is a book called Science and Sanity by Count Alfred Korzybski. A lot of NLP comes from this book and the art of general semantics. I believe this book was originally written in response to what Hitler was doing when he was trying to basically brainwash and take over the world. And Count Alfred Korzybski, when he started the Institute of General Semantics, said, the best way to protect people from this kind of stuff going on is to teach them how it works and help them understand so that they can still maintain sovereignty and make their own decisions for themselves. And he said one of the things that makes humans unique and different than other species of animals is our ability to bind time, our ability to conceptualize time, to think and plan for the future. Also, that means our ability to worry about the future, and our ability to also reflect and learn from the past and leverage that as well. So this ability to bind time. So time is a really important concept in terms of psychology, the human psyche, and understanding how you work and how you function. I learned things in the timeline section of the training that would never even have occurred to me in the past. Like, for example, some people that are really in the moment, these are people who are often very fun, very vivacious. They live in the moment and they change their mind a lot. These are people that are often living in what we call in time, where their ability to see the future and see the past is a bit harder. But what that allows them to do is really be in the moment much more fully. Whereas other people tend to seem a bit more reserved and a bit more like they're planning and they're thinking. And these are people who maybe see time from a distance, or they see a continuum out in front of them. And so they're not quite as in the moment, but this allows them to maintain perspective and to plan and to stay on a course or on a path. Now, are either one of these ways of viewing the world and orienting yourself to the world better or worse than the other? Of course not, but they're different. And if I'm dancing with someone that I love, I want to be in time in the moment, right? But if I'm planning out the work week, I probably want to step back and get a little bit more perspective. So it's how to use time to your advantage. Also, how to take a look at how your past and your future is influencing what's going on right now. So for some of us, we have a really clear future. We know exactly where we're going. And so that makes it really easy to do the next step along the way. But other people, right, when we think about the future, it just gets blurry. We don't really have a clear concept. We don't really know where we're going. I often find when I'm coaching up-and-coming coaches or hypnotists to build their practice, and I ask them about, well, what's your plan for the next year, 3 years, 5 years, they don't have one. It's part of the reason they came to coaching in the first place. But when they think about it, they've never gotten there in their mind. And so we need to build that out so that they can see something compelling in the future. Whereas other people, they have an idea of where they want to go and what they want to do, but they always feel burdened and weighted down by the things that have happened to them in the past. So these are people that are putting a lot of emphasis and a lot of highlights on stuff from the past, and so that's really affecting how they make decisions right now. So there's so many issues of time. I could go on and on and on. It is a really important concept in NLP, and we really introduce it fully and completely in the NLP Master Practitioner Certification. Okay, so that's time. Now, the next area or domain, and this would be my fourth reason here for taking the NLP Master Practitioner Certification training, would be learning how to work with beliefs and learning how to work with identities. You know, in my book, a belief is a story we tell ourselves about what's possible for us in the future, and then we act as if it's true. Okay, but it's just a story at the end of the day. Now, many of us, we had these stories loaded in, okay, without conscious awareness, somewhere between the ages of 3 and 7, right? The imprint phase of life. And we had a event that happened, maybe a strong emotional reaction with it, and then we made a decision and we told ourselves a story, and that often becomes a belief. And with a lot of these stories and beliefs, because we're young, because we don't know any better, we have no idea that we're in an imprint phase of life when we're 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. We have no idea these things are getting formed. But it works a lot like this. The story gets written, okay? And this is now a story about who we are and what we can do and what's possible for us in the world. And then we close that book and it's left that way. And often for many of us, it never gets reopened and re-examined until you come to a training like the NLP Master Practitioner Certification training, where you get to take a look at what are the beliefs and stories that are really driving you. So this is the advantage of working at a deeper level now. Now that you're starting to get familiar with the basics, you're ready to take it to a deeper level and take a look at how these unconscious patterns and programs are really working like a current, pulling us one direction or another, and they're really influencing the outcome of our lives. You know, just think about the power of this. If you were told your whole life that you have 2 left feet, that you can't dance, that you have no coordination, that you'll never be a dancer, what are the odds of you, taking dance lessons, working on that skill, developing that ability? Chances are you probably won't even allow yourself to explore it. Now, as a result of that, you may never learn how to dance. And then over the years, as people talk about dancing, you can pepper back in that story and say, yeah, I've got 2 left feet, I'm uncoordinated, I can't dance at all. And that could be your story as to why you don't even try. Or when your friends go out on the dance floor, you hang back, okay? But again, this is story. So, we're not going to judge one story as better or worse than the other. In NLP, we don't look at anything as good or bad or right or wrong. We look at it as, is it useful or not useful? And then where, when, and with whom is it useful? If it's not useful, we chuck it. If it's useful, we keep it. So this is an opportunity to examine the stories that you tell yourself and make sure they're really serving you. Now, oftentimes the story can be as simple as thinking something is harder than it really is or really needs to be. And the minute you update that story, suddenly what seems super challenging and almost impossible to overcome becomes dead simple. I can remember a story recently of working with a virtual assistant. I held off for a lot of years hiring a virtual assistant because I had this story in my mind. And I was told this, that, you need to document your operations, you need to write them down. And I'd had a big, huge operations manual in the past, but things are a bit different now since the lockdown, the procedures are new. And so what I was told is you need to figure out what those procedures are first and then write them down and document them. That way you have something to train a virtual assistant with. So I kept holding off and holding off and holding off on hiring one. Then I realized, what if there's an easier way? What if it doesn't have to be so difficult? What if it could be a lot easier? And suddenly the idea came to me, well, why don't I just hire them? And then since I do these things every day anyway in the background of the business, I'll do them with the virtual assistant online, record the session, and then have them document it and send it back. And that will be their way of making sure they really know it and learn it. And the minute I took that on as an idea, the minute I shifted that belief, I had 2 assistants within the week, and my production went up like dramatically overnight. And it was an easy fix. And it was all because I was open to the possibility that what if it was a lot easier than I'm making it out to be? So that's just to give you an example of the power of looking at beliefs. And think of your identity as a cluster of beliefs that get kind of packaged together. So if someone suddenly becomes a mother or a father, there's a whole new set of beliefs that come with that. You know, you walk around going, okay, well, how would a mother or a father, you know, if I'm a dad, right, and I'm a dad, you know, when I first realized I was to become a dad, I was like, okay, well, you know, how does a dad handle this? How does a dad handle that? What's the right parenting thing to do here? And again, we're referencing that story in our mind. So we want to make sure these stories are useful and are serving us. And we want to make sure that any kind of identity that we are pursuing or latching onto, if we are going to do that, is also serving us. If not, my recommendation, change it. Okay? All right. So that brings us to the 5th and final reason why I think you should take the NLP Master Practitioner Certification Training, and that is modeling. Oh my gosh. All of NLP began with modeling. That was the first thing they did. You know, Bandler and Grinder, right? They were watching, or Bandler was watching these videos of Fritz Perl do Gestalt therapy, and what he saw him doing and what Fritz said he was doing that made the difference didn't seem to match. Bandler said, I think there's something else he's doing here that he's not talking about. He took it to Grinder, showed it to Grinder, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're on to something. And that's where modeling began. They thought, what if there is a way that we can model and extract and reproduce this seemingly magical ability to transform human lives? This is why many of the early books in NLP reference the word magic, because they were taking these skills and techniques and ways of being, mindsets, etc., all this stuff that we can model with NLP. And they were noticing that these therapists, Fritz Perls, Virginia Satir, and Milton Erickson, were getting results with people, exceptional results that other people just couldn't seem to get. And they thought, gosh, I wonder if there's a pattern there that we can learn from and then use and reproduce. And modeling is one of those skills. It's like learning an instrument. You will develop it for the rest of your life. You can never get enough practice doing it. But you will learn in the NLP Master Practitioner Certification ways to model very quickly and very effectively and get incredible results. For example, one of the things we'll teach you is to get 3 really good examples of a person who can do the behavior that you want to do or has the way of thinking that you want to adopt, something you want to model. If you get 3 examples of that, then you can take quite a bit of time interviewing the first person, but then the second 2 interviews can happen rapidly. And when you look at 3 examples, stuff will pop that you wouldn't see otherwise. Now, if you add to that asking the right questions in modeling, knowing what to look for, knowing what to leave out, and knowing what matters, again, it speeds up the process. So we're going to show you some simple ways of beginning to model so that you can start to create your own NLP. If there's an area of life, professional or personal or relationships, where you see someone else getting excellent results and you want that, modeling would be an excellent thing to do. If you have been in the field, let's say you're a therapist or a coach and you've been helping people for 20, 30 years, or you do high level, one of my clients does really high level finance. And so he does these really creative deals. He goes back and repurposes mines and different mining operations and things like this. Very complex stuff. I've got other clients who are in real estate. These are skills worth modeling. These are skills that you can monetize. You can model out your process. You can teach it to others. You can improve it for yourself and make yourself even more efficient, even more effective than you were before. And of course, you can use modeling to create new NLP. So if you want to be an innovator and a pioneer, then this is your opportunity to start to do that and create your own stuff. There are also many, many people who don't use the word NLP in their terminology, but they use the skill of modeling and their NLP skills to go out and model what works and what doesn't work. I've also used it in my previous incarnation. Before I became a coach full-time in 2002, I worked in mental health for about a decade. And one of the places that I worked at during that period of time was a house full of developmentally disabled and extremely violent people. And so as a result of that, they got very angry and very upset, and they would often attack us nightly. I mean, it was pretty much every night that I was there, someone would come out and attack us and physically attack us, and we'd have to physically restrain them and do it in a safe way so that no one got hurt. So as you can imagine, it was pretty scary. So one of the things that I wanted to quickly figure out and learn more about was anger, how people got angry, what triggered it, what were maybe some earlier signs that it was coming, and then what would work to potentially diffuse it or redirect it into a more useful direction. And so that's one of the first places I really took modeling to model out how people get angry, how people get upset, how they lose their cool. That then later turned into a larger model called the structure of upset. So modeling is one of those tools where you can take it and go into any field or endeavor or area that interests you and really take your learning and expand it in a huge way, and also begin to extract a model or a strategy or a process that you can use over and over again and teach to others. So that would be the fifth reason. So I really hope that you join us. It's going to be an amazing online event. It will be live and it will be online if you're here in 2021 for the first round of this. And this could be the only time that we do it live and online in this format. And you're going to be with me, you're going to be with Tim Halbum, and you're going to be with Nick LaForce. So we've got some heavy hitters in the field of NLP here to teach you and help you get the basics into your bones, and now take those basics and really drill them in and understand these higher level concepts of time, beliefs and identity, and modeling. So I hope you join us.